Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton and CJ Vogel. Time for this week's edition of the Recruiting Breakdown. And Gerry, anytime we have the Recruiting Breakdown here on the channel, it's brought to you by our good friend Mark Saunders.
Man, you need some insurance to cover the portal, baby. You get bounced around, beaten down, all of it. So that's why we call Mark Saunders when it comes to protecting all your stuff. Wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some good news. That's Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders, who serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, ATV, and portal coverage. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Our On Texas Football guarantee for Texas alum Mark Saunders is with over 35 years of experience. You'll be in great hands. 512-218-8571.
CJ, I want to start with you. You dropped some news over at ontexasfootball.com late Tuesday morning about DeAndre Moore. What's the latest with his status?
Yeah, right now I'm expecting a departure for DeAndre Moore from the Texas football program, whether that's to the portal, whether that's to the NFL draft, I think is still up in the air. I lean towards the NFL draft, but I know that he's alerted some folks inside of the building in Moncrief. I know that the conversation's kind of gotten a lot louder over the last month or so. Not expected to return to Texas in 2026. Texas, of course, returns a lot of true sophomores from this 25 team. We also expect them to go portal hunting as well. But right now, I think the NFL draft is where you'll end up seeing DeAndre Moore's name come next spring.
Gerry, we had some news on Monday regarding the NFL draft. Tuesday morning about a portal decision. Anthony Hill's going to the draft. We all expected that. Aaron Butler hits the portal, and shout out to Blake Monroe for putting together this graphic of as we sit here right now recording this. This is what the portal list looks like, guys that have declared their intention to go into the portal. Gerry, Aaron Butler, Santana Wilson, the latest departures headed from Texas to the transfer portal. Your thoughts on either one or both of those guys?
Yeah, I think my number one thing with the portal as of when we're recording this show Tuesday, late morning, is the only guy on this list outside of Anthony Hill NFL that would be considered a loss in terms of how much he played is CJ Baxter. But CJ Baxter obviously is not the same player he was pre-knee injury. That's normally an 18-month recovery to start with that major of a knee injury, but that knee has still got a ways to come back. But with Aaron Butler, not surprised. I think hand consistency is has been an issue for him. He's a rare kid that Texas signed and he never made an official visit. So that was we had a spot late. And I'm talking for Texas, had a spot late at wide receiver, really good athlete, shown some things in the return game in high school. He was committed to Deion Sanders, then USC, really talented guy, going to kind of take the flyer hill here based on talking to some folks on the West Coast, which were longtime connections, just didn't work out for Aaron Butler. Now, look, he would have had to come in. He would have had to beat out you name it, a DeAndre Moore or Emmett Mosley out of the portal, right? Depending on what position Aaron Butler was going to play on that receiver core. So the task was tall already. In the case of Santana Wilson, same thing. Was never. If by year 2 you're not able to make a dent and start making that move, whether that's a redshirt freshman year or true sophomore year, then it's tough because that means you're getting passed by guys who are a class behind you, which is exactly what happened with Cade Phillips. So that puts you in a very precarious, tough position. So I don't think CJ, myself, Jeff, Bobby, anybody at On Texas Rod, anybody on Texas football is surprised at either of these portal entrants. The key now, CJ, Jeff, what we're looking at is we know there will be more guys at those positions. You know, CJ just mentioned DeAndre Moore. I don't think once DeAndre Moore makes his decision known, that will even be the last wide receiver to be gone off this team. Yeah. Santana Wilson definitely won't be the last defensive back to be gone off this team. So we're starting to see some areas where Texas and running back already has 2, and we expect that. And Ricky Stewart's not even on there yet. That will be 3. There could be another one. So we're starting to see the positional needs, and we think some offensive line guys will pop in, right, and into the portal from Texas or leave the program. So we're starting to see some of those positional depth needs start to really rise to the top right now, outside of just your needs you already had.
Yeah. CJ, let's go to the secondary real quick. And, you know, as Gerry mentioned, we're not expecting this to be the last bit of attrition on the back end. But for you, are the NFL decisions of Malik Muhammad and Jelani McDonald, are those the next 2 big dominoes you're falling, or is it something else back there?
Yeah, I think specifically it's that decision of Jelani McDonald, right? I think we all kind of anticipate Malik Muhammad to be a 3-and-done caliber player at Texas. He's kind of lived up to that billing. That feels like that decision is coming soon for Malik to declare for the NFL draft. But Jelani's one that's really interesting to me because I've talked to a couple folks up in the Waco area who have followed him since middle school and know him well. And they said, look, he believes he could be a first-round pick at the safety position, which you don't often see. Now, that wouldn't mean that he's coming back for 2026. So can you put together a comparable NIL offer that would sit there and compete with that of an NFL guaranteed contract? I think is a big opportunity for Texas to return one of its key players. And that's another part of the conversation here, Jeff and Gerry, is when we look ahead to 2026, how old does this roster get to, right? Is a lot of their age and experience come out of the portal like it did in 2025? Look, if McDonald returns and you have that steady piece in the middle of your defense, that solves a lot of issues that could arise with brand new players playing in the secondary for really an extended amount of time for the first time. So that's a big, big decision for me. Right now, I kind of had it on the fence, a little 50-50, but I do lean ever so slightly to a return. We'll see, obviously, what comes of it over the next month or so.
And that's a big one, Jeff and CJ, because Jonah Williams won't be available for spring practice again.
Yep.
I mean, you already got Michael Taft gone to graduation, right? So, I mean, this is if Johnny went pro at the If game, podcasters, if he went pro, and Jonah's in baseball, it's hard to depend on Jonah Williams as a significant player when he never goes through spring. As talented as he is, and I'm not saying he can't be, but he's never at spring practice. His football is way behind his baseball development at Texas, or will be. So it's like you go in the spring, that Jelani McDonald decision is a big one because you go in the spring. If you told me to right now, Michael Taft's gone, Jelani decided he was going to go, and Jonah Williams is in baseball, you're really thin at safety. And it's hard to count on somebody who's in baseball to go be a starter when they've never had a spring football practice and then had soft tissue injuries. So that's Jelani McDonald, to CJ's point. That may be the biggest decision on this team.
Yeah. Him and Gooseby.
And Gerry, I want to stay with the secondary really quick, Gerry, because when you look at remaking that secondary and adding pieces out of the portal, how much of the math and where you attack guys you add is determined by what do you do with Grayson Littleton. If you're going to slide Grayson Littleton out the corner, do you now need to recruit a nickel? Or if you like keeping him at the nickel position, do you need to recruit a corner? Or, Gerry, above all that is just safety, a position that regardless, you probably got to go check in the portal and see what you can find.
I'm going to take a interesting path here. I think they need one player out of the portal at all three. Because I think you want to have to – look, I think Cade Phillips, young corner next year. Grayson Littleton, he's really good at nickel. Are the guys that are behind him going to stay, or are they going to transfer out? Because Grayson Littleton's an established starter. So if you're playing behind Grayson Littleton right now, you don't really see your path. So that's I think Texas has to have the mindset of even if they're going to tinker with Grayson Littleton at corner, need a corner, need a nickel, and need a safety. I think all three of those positions probably need somebody in the portal for depth in 2026 and to push guys and to compete for starting jobs, CJ.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is when do they go target kids in the portal? Yeah. You know, and this is kind of I don't want to say it's a shady game, but it's part of the game that you got to play as a general manager and a guy making decisions for your rosters. Hey, if you get a guy immediately out of the portal, well, there's 2 weeks for players already on your roster to then contemplate whether or not they need to go into the portal, whether or not they will have a shot to get on the field in the 26th season, or do you kind of sneak in a guy late, you know, kind of towards the deadline of the portal. And, you know, in a way you sit there and you make it very difficult for guys on the roster to make that decision in days' time. So I think when you see this portal open, obviously there's going to be a frenzy of immediate decisions. With specific spots at Texas, I think you could see late action in the portal as well. And that's in a way just hoping that a lot of your depth and numbers stay where they are.
Gerry, we get to the point where the portal where you're almost prioritizing it like an NFL team would prioritize free agency where, hey, you've got your absolute needs that we got to address those first. And then maybe there's some other positions, maybe like safety, that, hey, we're not in competition for the tippy top guys, but we can still find good depth pieces later on down after we fill running back, offensive line, the big time needs this team has.
Yeah. And look, I think CJ, Jeff, I think these practices, these bowl practices are going to be impactful in that regard, Jeff, to see how these guys react, what the staff continues to think about them, who attack, how do some of these young guys attack the bowl practices and their opportunity. I think they're going to be evaluated the month of December, to your point, Jeff. So there could be something that pops up, and to CJ's point, there could be something that pops up a decision later in the January portal days than earlier. Because I do think the evaluations are still ongoing on some of these guys.
Yeah, and CJ, to Jerry's point there, you and I talked about this a little bit on the channel this week, but I think it's kind of more nuanced now. We can get into it. There is no second portal window. The one in early January is it. And Sark even said, I think it was on the Zoom call on Sunday after the Citrus Bowl announcement, he didn't really like the way the practice structure was or the way they prepared going into the Sugar Bowl against Washington, which was very different than what they did last year. CJ, you almost have to treat some of these bowl practices like you treat spring ball, to Jerry's point, where, man, you're going to have to make some evaluations, and there are guys coming out of those practices that's when they're going to have to make a decision. Do they go into the portal or not?
Yeah, and look, that puts a lot of strain and pressure on those kids to go perform, because, look, that's 8 months of development and physical maturity that you don't get the luxury of if you're a guy that's in a place to play near the line of scrimmage. So you really got to press. You really got to put on your best foot forward, right, to make sure that these coaches' last impression before the portal opens is, hey, maybe we got something here with player X, Y, or Z. And for me specifically, cornerback is one that you mentioned, Jerry, and Jeff. I think it's absolutely a spot that Texas has some talented pieces in, but could certainly go benefit from having a guy with experience come in and compete for that spot. But I mean, a guy like Warren Roberson, who's been around the facility for a number of years now, it feels like, whether or not you agree with it, they trust Warren Roberson on the field. Kobe Black, a guy who was dinged up a lot of the season, he looked pretty good against Texas A&M, right? And I think that's one of those things where you end the season on such a high note, it kind of puts you back into the perspective of, well, look, if we can just get more of that, right, we've got ourselves a pretty good football player. So I'm picking on the cornerback spot, but there's plenty of others just like that, where you can basically paint the same picture, and it's all about what these guys and how these guys in the 2025 calendar year before the portal opens up. One final impression is all the importance at the moment.
Yeah, and look, Jerry, I'm not saying that, hey, they're just going to completely disregard the bowl game at this point, because obviously they'd like to win that game, but you're not preparing for a CFP semifinal or a CFP first round game in these bowl practices. Jerry, this is another time where, if they play their cards right, and I've stressed that with every move in the next few weeks, if they handle this right, they could get a lot of clarity in the next couple of weeks on who's going to be on this roster in 2026 and who's not.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I think this is in Sark's tenure at Texas, outside of an Arch Manning recruiting decision, right, and some late recruiting wins, I think this is maybe the most important month in his tenure in Austin right here. Because this year they didn't make the college football playoff. The expectation is always to be in that playoff, whether that's fair or not. That's their own expectation too. Mm-hmm. You have to get there with Arch next year. There's probably not a third chance. Maybe there is. Maybe Archie gets his way. But Arch is still going to have, this time next year, he's going to have over 25 starts. And that's kind of the magic number. So you have this month right here, decisions on your current roster and decisions on who you're going after in the portal and what those look like positionally. I think this may be the most important month for Steve Sarkisian since he's been at Texas. Because he raised his expectations so much. There's only one way to go unless it's a national championship. It's down.
Yep. Jerry, we'll pick this up here in just a second, but before we do anything else, got to one more time let everybody know about our good friend Mark Saunders.
Yeah, when it comes to protecting all your stuff, Mark Saunders is your guy. He'll protect all of it for you, everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today at 512-218-8571. Austin, Round Rock, entire state of Texas. Texas A&M Mark Saunders has you covered with his over 35 years of experience. Again, do what so many other On Texas Football community members have done the last couple of years. That's give Mark Saunders a call, 512-218-8571.
CJ, I think we're all in agreement that the post-exit interview portal activity thus far has not surprised us in terms of who's gone in. Has it changed your calculations on positions of priority or where Texas needs to attack, or changed your math any on where they need to go first in the portal?
Yeah, not yet. I think, the portal entrance so far is to be expected. And look, CJ Baxter's the lone entrant so far at the time of recording that has a career start. It follows a very similar trend of what we saw a year ago, where it felt like you lose a lot of depth, but not a lot of front end guys. Now we'll see obviously what the next 2 or 3 weeks might entail on that front, but the numbers that we had coming in projection wise, it's kind of falling into line there with what we expected coming in. And so right now, everything's following the pattern that we expected for me. So that's a good sign for Texas.
Gerry, this staff made a really good move, and in hindsight, it was a tremendous move. Saved their bacon against Mississippi State, going into the portal and getting Matthew Caldwell, because he didn't play much, but you really needed him to play when he played. Do you think the staff should, or do you want them to go into the portal and try to find another backup quarterback, somebody that's a veteran with some experience to put on the depth chart?
Yeah, and the biggest reason, because I think KJ Lacey's a clear 2 next year, clear 2. But the biggest issue is to preserve Diabell's red shirt, give him time to develop. I don't want to be in a situation where you have 3 scholarship quarterbacks and ends up like Missouri. I don't think that's good for Diabell. And I think he's very talented. And I'm not saying he couldn't come in and potentially play well, but I think a full redshirt year, I think, is a big thing for Diabell. It's like it was for KJ Lacey. That doesn't mean you can't get in and throw a couple of passes late in a couple of games, but you don't want to be in the position Missouri was in. And I'm quite sure Sark, he was thinking ahead with Matthew Caldwell, and it paid off. I'm quite sure he looked at Missouri and said, I can't have our team in that position next year. So I'll really be surprised if they don't take a somewhat experienced college quarterback, but he would come in as a third-team guy, not a second-team guy, because KJ Lacey's done really well, and I think KJ Lacey's the clear 2 going in next year. You agree, CJ and Jeff?
I do. I absolutely, yes.
I think for this staff, Gerry, he is. I mean, they moved him ahead of Trey Owens, and I think they've been getting him ready for that role. And I think stylistically, too, if, knock on wood, something were to happen to Arch, I think they feel much better about going to him in 26 than they did at any point this year. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yep.
Guys, as we wrap it up here, we'll get some final thoughts. CJ, I'll let you go first. Final thoughts on the portal or numbers or anything recruiting related at this point?
No, I think right now it's just the accumulation of who's entering, who's declaring. It's just kind of keeping an eye, for us at least, on what potential fits might become apparent whenever it comes to other names elsewhere that are entering the portal. Of course, Texas does a fine job of when guys enter, they typically commit right away to the University of Texas. They kind of have that idea, right? So when Texas comes calling, they get their guys. It's been a fine science over the last couple of cycles. Now for us, it's all about basically scouring the portal and who enters and saying, okay, could they be a fit? Does this make sense? On top of the numbers that are already leaving and departing from the high school class and the portal here in Austin.
Final thoughts, Gerry.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little high school recruiting here. I went to see Carnell Greedy James at Manville yesterday. We'll have a separate video, 11-minute interview with him on Texas Football that I conducted. Producer Matt is going to publish that soon, either today or tomorrow. But on high school 27 recruiting, I wanted to say this. Your in-house recruiting staff has been going through a lot of tape on guys' junior seasons. More out-of-state than in-state, because you learn more about the in-state guys that have ascended as juniors earlier, being in the state, right, at Texas. Because they're going through a lot of that tape, presenting stuff to the positional coaches. And these positional coaches this week, some of those guys are shuffling some of their early boards and who they're going to go see in January, because there's no visits in December anymore. It's all in January. So next month, and this is where you never not want to be in the college football playoff. But if you're not, your entire staff will be on the road evaluating those 27s in person before your junior day. So that's kind of what's going on behind the scenes in high school recruiting. And also, the last thing on high school recruiting, 27 guys finding out as much info, and if it would be a red shirt need for a depth positional need, if there's a 27 or two that's going to try to reclass to 26 in the spring before high school graduation in May. Those are the two things they're really focused on in 27 right now. But again, that in-house staff is bringing players continuous to the position coaches. They're watching them, making some decisions. Like, hey, this is a guy we might offer if I go see him in January. That's kind of where the Texas staff and a lot of staffs are right now.
A lot of moving parts right now. We'll keep track of it for you here on the channel and over at ontexasfootball.com. Gerry, CJ, thank you guys for the knowledge and expertise. As always, thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to our friend Mark Saunders, Allstate, for sponsoring it. If you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, that's all right. You can get over to the site right now and sign up using the promo code OTFOG, and that'll get you 1 year of access at ontexasfootball.com for just $39.95. Make sure that you like this video and that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, whether it's here on the channel or on the site, you're not missing any of our Longhorn coverage all year round, including our up-to-the-minute coverage of what's happening in the transfer portal. For Gerry, for CJ, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, hook 'em.
All right, Gerry Hamilton of On Texas Football here at Manville High, talking to Carnell Greedy James. Congrats on your commitment to Texas. So the first question, I got to get it out of the way. How'd you get the nickname Greedy? Did you take everybody's Halloween candy or what?
Something like that. Growing up, I used to eat a lot. Dad gave me that name, and it just followed me throughout sports.
Yeah. Then I guess the next thing is, so Texas fans, the first thing they want to know is why Texas? What led you to that decision to commit to Texas?
I'll definitely say because of the conference and the historic background they have. And also, for me personally, they're not scared to play true freshmen. There was 3 of them on the field when I went, and I have a great relationship with the coaches, and they showed me a lot of love.
Yeah, so tell for the Texas fans that don't know, that game you were at, and who were those freshmen? Who did you notice out there?
I noticed Kay Phillips, Jonah Williams, and Grayson Littleton.
Yeah. And that was the A&M game.
Yeah, that was the A&M game.
Had you been to another Texas game this year?
Yeah, I went to the Arkansas game and the Vanderbilt game.
Okay. So from the Texas staff side, who is it that you talked to the most throughout this process?
I would say Coach Orfe and Coach Akina.
Okay. So what have they told you specifically about a position? Or do they see you as a defensive back and it's going to play out? Do they talk about a specific position?
They see me more as a DB, not really positionless. Coach Orfe constantly talks about how I'm very versatile and able to play all the positions.
Yeah. So what was their message to you? I mean, what did they like about your game?
Yeah, I'll say that I'm versatile, physical, and have great instincts.
Yeah. And when you met with Coach Sarkisian, obviously at the game,
yes, sir.
What was his message to you?
Really about getting me down there. He was excited for me to be a Longhorn, and I am as well.
When you started this process, at what point did you say, okay, I have a chance to be a national recruiter. I could have a lot of big schools coming after me. What point in your football career was that?
I would say spring last year. That's when I got some attention early as a freshman, but it really started to pick up spring of last year when all the coaches got my sophomore season film.
So obviously we're going to get to your father's a college basketball player and a coach for a long time. You grew up playing basketball, running track, and football.
Yes, sir.
When did you realize football was the direction you were going to head?
I would say high school. Freshman year of high school, I stopped playing basketball, picked track back up, and football was always my dominant sport. So I knew that would stick around for sure.
From an AAU basketball perspective, who you grew up playing with?
I played with Live On Blue Chips.
Okay, Live On Blue Chips. Okay, yeah. All right, got you. Are there any guys that Texas fans will know from a hoops perspective that you grew up playing with that are really good players?
I'll say Shelton Henderson. We went to the same middle school. Yeah. And when was your first time you played football? What age were you? I think I was 5. Flag football.
Flag football?
Yes, sir.
When's the first time you hit somebody in football?
I believe first year of freshman, I was probably like maybe 8, 7.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was it that you love or do love about the game of football?
Yeah, I would just say the aggression, you're able to hit somebody and it's legal. It's like you get to take. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun sport. You get to compete and you get to play with your brothers.
How did growing up basketball and dad that was a college player and a coach, how did you think that helped you in football? There's obviously a different sport from a physicality standpoint, but how do you think it helped you being a hooper as well?
I believe it helped me a lot, even at the safety position. I played point guard, so it's really the same things. And my dad being a coach, I could take coaching well. I know what coach wants from me. I know how to adapt it to the game.
So you're a guy that can play safety. You can play corner.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a preference? Is there something within the game that you like about playing safety more or corner more, or does it even matter?
From the safety standpoint, I like the control I have and able to put guys where they need to be. But also with the corner, I get to guard the best receiver one-on-one in his man coverage half the time. So I love to take.
Yeah. And do you train with anybody from a football perspective that may be your skill work or outside of here at Manville High?
Yes, sir. Jaleel Johnson with pick 6.
Okay. Who else? Who are some other guys that you know over there that work with him?
Cade Phillips, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all have a friendship.
Yes,
y'all
sir.
know each other for a while.
Yeah.
What did he tell you about Texas?
He really told me the same things. They not scared to play true freshmen, and they don't take a lot of DBs in the classes as well. So there's opportunity for sure.
So when it came down to that time and you were about to commit to Texas, who else was really in it at that time? Who else have you been talking to a lot?
Really, Texas A&M, TCU, Arizona State, and Florida.
Yeah. Okay. And your first kind of, when I say University of Texas football, Texas Longhorns, what comes to mind for you?
I would say passion and culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you plan to graduate next December?
Yes, sir.
Graduate early? Okay.
Sure.
And at the safety position, when did you realize that, man, I could be – it's different than being a national recruit, right? But when did you realize safety, I really like playing this position, and it translates to, like you said, being a point guard? Like, when did you kind of realize that in your mind?
I always had that thought in my head. I never had a doubt. No matter what position, it was corner or safety, I knew I was going to be able to make it.
Yeah, yeah. And then will you run track this spring?
Yes, sir.
What events will you run?
I'll be running the 400 and 200.
Okay. What's kind of do you have any goals for times in those?
Yeah, definitely for the 400, definitely like 48 around there for sure.
That's a big number.
Yes, sir.
What did you run last spring?
Last spring, I ran 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about, did you run 200 last spring?
No, I didn't run 200 last
Okay.
spring.
So you're pretty much a 400-meter guy.
Yes, sir.
Growing up. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a number that you need to get the state in the 400, you think?
Probably, I think it's like 47. It's crazy.
It's a crazy number in Texas. Yeah, absolutely. So kind of your goals, did you have goals going into this season for yourself as a football player?
Yeah.
Are you a goal setter?
Yes, sir. A little bit. I try to, but I need to write it down more. But I definitely wanted more picks and make more plays to impact the game. And didn't have the picks I want, but I picked up on punt returns, and I had a couple punt return touchdowns.
Yeah. And so now let's get into that sports background. So your father was a college basketball player.
Yes, sir.
And he's a coach. Anybody else in your family tree that played college athletics anymore?
No, just my dad.
What does he always – because obviously you have to be able to lean on somebody, right? And have a conversation with somebody. I assume that's him, right?
Yes, sir.
What has he kind of told you going through this process with you?
Really just stay patient and trust in God, and feel free to talk to him about anything. And he's really been a huge guide for me.
Is there somebody you model your game after, football-wise?
I would definitely say about I like Patrick Surtain a lot, and those versatile DBs as well who could play the slot, corner, like Jalen Ramsey as well.
So for all this, of course, for the Texas fans, if you're not playing football, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do, man? What are your interests?
I'm probably playing video games or fishing.
Fishing?
Yes, sir.
Where do you go?
I go to normal lakes, local lakes around.
Okay. So all bass fishing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
Probably about maybe like 6 months now. I haven't, not too long.
So you're just getting into it. What
Yes,
did you
sir.
like about fishing?
Oh, it's just relaxing. It's a way to get away from things.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever feel any internal pressure during this recruiting process, maybe around decision time? Did you ever feel that, or was it just like, it's just all part of it for me?
A little pressure. A lot of 27 started to commit early, so I'm obviously going to ask the questions, when should I? But it wasn't a pressure decision to commit. I always was going to take my time for sure.
Did you grow up liking a certain college or two, or did they kind of grow on you during this process?
Yeah, growing up, my dad's from New Orleans, so a big New Orleans sports fan. So I like LSU growing up, but not really much Texas, but they definitely grow on me as I grow older and got into recruiting.
Do you remember when your first communication was with Texas?
Yes, sir. Last spring.
Okay.
Last spring, they came to the school.
Yeah.
Invited me to the elite camp.
Yeah. And you went to that.
Yes,
obviously.
sir.
Kind of was that the first time you'd ever been on campus at Texas?
For sports related things, yes, but I've been on campus just passing by in Austin.
Right. So what was your first for Texas fans are wondering, because A&M was an unbelievable atmosphere, Arkansas. Yeah. What is that like from a recruit perspective, being at one of those games? You go in, obviously you go in as a recruit, so it's different from the regular fans go through. What was that process like, and what were your thoughts on the Texas DKR and the atmosphere?
It was great. They, before the game, lined up craziest whole walkthroughs. They had different roller coaster stuff like that going on. It's a crazy atmosphere even before the game, and then they embrace you as well. Walking to the tunnel, through the tunnel for the pregame, everybody's yelling, screaming, and happy. It's a crazy experience.
So a couple more questions here for you. What's the go-to meal, man? What's your go-to meal?
I'll probably say like lemon pepper wings.
Lemon pepper wings. Is there a certain spot?
Probably at Wingstop.
At Wingstop.
Yeah.
Okay. What about TV show? If you're sitting there, what are you going to watch?
I'll probably say Paid in Full. I like that movie. Yeah.
Okay. And then goals ultimately in the game of football. What are your goals?
I would say to play on the field as a freshman and eventually get to the league.
Yeah.
And Jim Thorpe Award winner.
How far, and you may not be able to answer this, it may be more of your staff, Coach Martin and here at Manville, or even college coaches, how far away do you think you are from maximizing your talent right now? Like what you can be?
I feel like I can be – next year I'll be playing corner, so I'll be able to have nickel film, safety film, and corner film. Yeah. So I believe that's all I'm missing for real, for everybody to realize that I am who I say I am.
Height and weight right now?
6'1", 175.
Do you know your wingspan?
I believe it was I think it was 78.
Okay, so you got super long arms. And if you timed in a 40, what would you run, do you think?
I'm not sure. I haven't timed in a while.
You haven't timed in a while?
No,
what would be your goal?
At least 4.45.
Okay. All right, that's Carnell Greedy James, Manville, 2027 Texas commitment. Thanks for the time today. You got to give the fans a hook 'em, man.
Yes, sir. Hook 'em.